This is not the Ford Bronco, but this is the big Bronco. Now I know I am late to the party. The Ford Bronco has been around for a little over a year now, and there are plenty of YouTube videos out there on the new Ford Bronco. So here's another one. Anyway, let's go for a drive. So I'm gonna start this video on paved roads because if I were to start talking on off-roads, then I'd probably just be bouncing around all over the shot. So anyway, you can have the Ford Bronco with one of three engines. The base engine is a 2.3 liter turbocharged four-cylinder, and I haven't driven that engine before, but from what I hear, it's very underpowered for this Bronco. The engine that you want, actually I was gonna say the engine that's under this hood is the one that you want, but the engine that you really want is the 3 liter twin turbo V6 that's in the Ford Bronco Raptor. However, at the time that I'm filming this, the Raptor is completely sold out, so you probably won't be getting that engine. Instead, what's under the hood of this particular Ford Bronco is a 2.7 liter twin turbocharged V6. It is capable of producing 330 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque when it's running on premium fuel. It's not required, but it is recommended. When it's running on regular fuel, then it'll produce a little bit less power and torque, but it'll still be over 300 horsepower and over 400 pound-feet of torque. Despite this Ford Bronco, even in this two-door configuration weighing the better part of 2.2 tons, this engine has plenty of get up and go. It's nice and smooth, torque is down low in the RPM range, and it doesn't feel like as though it's straining to move this much mass from a stop, or when you're going off the beaten path. However, you are going to be paying a penalty at the fuel pumps. In this particular configuration, the Ford Bronco Wildtrak is rated for 14 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 13.9 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. Now, the city fuel economy I can believe. I have been getting some pretty poor fuel economy numbers when just sticking to city driving. But on highways in two-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive, I've noticed that you can get some pretty decent fuel economy numbers. Currently, I am averaging about 12.8 liters per 100 kilometers on a 50-50 combined highway-city cycle. In terms of transmissions, you can get a 10-speed automatic, which is what I have here. Actually, this Wildtrak only comes with a 10-speed automatic, but other trim levels of the Ford Bronco are available with a 7-speed manual. This 10-speed is okay. It's not the best automatic transmission out there, but shifts are nice and smooth, and it's pretty quick to react to a stab of the throttle. It doesn't feel like as though it's hunting for gears. And finally, for the driving dynamics of this Ford Bronco on paved roads, it's actually pretty good for the type of vehicle that this is. The brakes are strong and there's quite a lot of pedal travel, so that makes it actually pretty easy to have really smooth stops. Thing is, there is quite a lot of body roll. Of course, there's nosedive every time that you brake, and the body leans left or right every time that you go around corners. When you do go around corners, the steering is direct, but it's really light, so there isn't a whole lot of feedback to your fingertips, which is normal for a truck like this. But the best thing about the steering is that because the Ford Bronco has independent front suspension, there's no steering weaving when you're going on highways. Unlike the Jeep Gladiator or Jeep Wrangler, that one has a solid front axle. So with that one, you constantly have to give it minute inputs just to stay in a straight line. With this one, you can keep one hand on the steering wheel, you can even let go of the steering wheel and it'll still track straight and true. However, the Ford Bronco was not meant to be a mall crawler. It was designed to tackle outdoorsy stuff like this. But this particular Bronco is the Wildtrak, so it was meant for more high-speed off-roading like deserts or wide open plains. Unfortunately, we don't have that sort of stuff here in Vancouver. What we have are mountain trails and forest service roads. So a better trim of the Ford Bronco would be the Badlands. In that one, you get a front disconnecting sway bar and a rock crawl mode. This one doesn't have it. But what it does have are giant 35-inch tires with 17-inch wheels, a metal bumper, bush guard, tons of protection underneath. There's also Bilstein shocks, which can be upgraded to Fox semi-active dampers. There's front and rear locking differentials and a 4.7 final drive ratio. So, although it wasn't meant for rock crawling or really tight and technical off-road stuff, this thing is still more than capable. When you take the Bronco Wildtrak off the beaten path, you'll find that it's very big, as in it is very wide for some smaller trails, and you'll probably end up scratching the paint. The Jeep Wrangler is much narrower. The Jeep also has slightly better approach angle of 44 degrees in Rubicon 2-door spec versus 43.2 degrees for the Bronco Wildtrak 2-door. But the Bronco and the Jeep have nearly identical breakover and departure angles. The Bronco Wildtrak also has 11.6 inches of ground clearance and 33.5 inches of water fording. So while the Jeep Wrangler may be slightly better than the Ford Bronco on tighter trails, once they open up, the Bronco has a few tricks up its wheel arches. If equipped with the automatic transmission, the Bronco can use trail turn assist to take very tight turns. This will brake the rear inside wheel to better turn the car. As well, the upgraded Bilstein shocks are fabulous at absorbing the punishing bumps, especially at higher speeds. So the inside of the cabin is about as quiet as a Mercedes-Benz S-Class. That is if you are wearing earplugs and you have noise-canceling headphones, and the Bronco isn't actually moving. Then it's about as quiet as a Mercedes-Benz S-Class in here. But all jokes and sarcasm aside, it is a very, very noisy interior inside the Ford Bronco. From above you, you're going to hear a lot of wind noise, especially on highways. From below you, you hear a lot of road noise from these tires. And from behind you, you're going to hear a lot of squeaks and creaks from the roof every time that you drive over the smallest, most minute bumps on the road. So again, very, very noisy in this cabin. But in terms of the ride comfort, you do feel the bumps and cracks of the road, but because of this suspension and these tires, you can just plow right through them and the Bronco isn't going to be fazed by it. On paper, the Ford Bronco has a little bit less space than the Jeep Wrangler. However, in reality, for my 6'4" height, I feel like as though it has more space. So legroom, as you can see, is more than plentiful, and same goes with headroom. This interior is also really well thought out. For example, there are grab handles right here for the driver and a couple for the passenger. There's a USB port right on top of the dashboard, so if you have your cell phone or GPS or some other device mounted on the windshield, you don't have to run ugly wires from there to the bottom of the center console. Also, the controls for the windows and the power mirrors are right here on the center console, because just like in the Jeep, you can take the doors off. And these are frameless doors, so they just look extra cool. Plus, you're not going to lose your exterior mirrors because they are mounted on the frame rather than the door. Also, just like in the Jeep, you can take off different panels of the roof to have that full open air experience. But unlike the Jeep Wrangler, you cannot fold down the front windshield. In the back seats, well, they were obviously not designed for someone of my height in mind, which is why the Ford Bronco comes in a 4-door configuration. But behind my driving position, I have pretty much no legroom. But I do have quite enough headroom. My hair isn't brushing up against this roof. However, if the driver decides to go over a particularly rough road, then I could bonk my head against the bars. So hopefully they don't go over a rough road when I'm back here. Actually, I don't even want to be back here. The trunk area opens in the exact same manner as the one in the Jeep. However, cargo capacity is not as generous as in the Jeep. The 2022 Ford Bronco has 634 liters of space with the rear seats up and 1,481 liters with the rear seats folded. Folding down those rear seats is a bit of a faff because those seat cushions have to be lifted first in order to fold the seat back. The 2022 Ford Bronco two-door starts at $43,199 Canadian. This Wildtrak two-door has a starting price of $60,649 Canadian, with this demo vehicle being equipped to the tune of $71,779 Canadian. For creature comforts, the Ford Bronco has heated leather and vinyl trimmed seats, a heated steering wheel, there's a 12-inch touchscreen with Sync 4 infotainment system, wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto connectivity, a wireless charging pad, surround view cameras, parking/proximity sensors, adaptive cruise control, automatic climate control, and a 10-speaker B&O audio system. For safety, the Bronco Wildtrak is equipped with standard blind spot sensors, forward automatic emergency braking, and lane keep. The luxury package adds adaptive cruise control and evasive steering assist. The IIHS gave the Ford Bronco good scores in crash tests, but only acceptable scores for head restraints and marginal scores for the headlamps. So, the Ford Bronco is like the one that your mom and dad probably drove back in the 80s and 90s, with a few more modern touches, of course. It's not some crossover SUV that just happens to have the Bronco name on it, like a certain other crossover SUV that also begins with a B and ends in laser. This is a true successor to the one from the 80s and the 90s. It's a rugged, go-anywhere type of SUV that has not been neutered by the need to have a crossover. It's not perfect, but this is a highly specialized vehicle for a specific task, and it performs that task with ease and style. And I know that getting your hands on one right now is very difficult, but if you can, it is well worth it. If you want to know more about this 2022 Ford Bronco, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.